Exhale.
Everyone take a breath.
Everybody.
Deep breath.
Take a deep breath. What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Winner's Lounge.
Feels good to be here, honestly.
It feels
honestly.
It is such a relief to be here, man. It's such a relief. The Nuggets get the win, and honestly, I'm going to start with this. Matt Moore just tweeted out, and I think it was spot on. There's no good right now with the way the league is. There's no good wins. There's just wins. You just got to get them. This was ugly. It was annoying. It was frustrating. But guess what? I look forward to forgetting about it here in about an hour and a half and just like moving on because it is a W, and that's all that matters. We're going to break it all down for you. We got to have Brendan Vogt joining us here just a little bit. Right now, he's on the horn with Michael Malone. He'll be popping in and out, I'm sure. But I got Harrison Wind here.
Man, I feel so much better right now than I did pregame, even though, like you said, there were some memorable things about this game, but I don't think anything we're going to be like really pumped to talk about other than Nikola Jokic getting another 2020 game. Like
there's interesting. There's interesting stuff.
Yeah, but they got to win, and that's the most important thing.
It's interesting, but it's not necessarily positive. I think that's what you're getting at, but it's still interesting. Superstar Dev's in the house.
I mean, I just can't be down about that game. This is not a game you should be excited about or thrilled about, but you can't be down about that type of game because if you lose that game, first off, it's just so many different implications that come. We haven't been in a winner's lounge in a very long time.
Oh, my God.
Just so to long. Even bring that up. And then also they just found a way. So you got to be excited for them to have to find a way.
They did find a way.
They did find a way to win. Nuggets get it tonight in Los Angeles against the Clippers, 103-100. Almost a munder. Our top story tonight, guys. Our top story. Actually, first I have to tell you, we're presented as always by Lightshade Dispensary. You guys can use them. 11 locations around Denver. We'll talk about them here in just a little bit. Our top story tonight. My parlay ruined. Ruined by one. Brandon Boston deciding that
the
last
top
play.
Story of the game to get the Nuggets back to 500 is your bet.
It's my bet. I'm telling you guys. Actually, we had people tweeting at me.
This is the most Adam thing.
This is the most Adam thing. No, because it's actually fun. This is why, look, DraftKings is a big partner of ours. But this is why it's so fun. Here was the parlay, okay? Nuggets to win the first quarter. They get a Bones Highland 3
they
at the
not
buzzer.
Have won
they
the
should
first
not have
quarter.
won it, but they get it. It's like, boom.
Yep.
You got Jokic, 25-plus points. He gets it with like 18 seconds left.
On the free throw.
On the free throws, like 18 seconds left. We had Jokic 10 rebounds or 12 rebounds. He got that.
Pretty
first
easily.
quarter or something. Then you had Monte 2 threes. That one cashed. Yep. And then you had 3.5 points for the Nuggets. I was sitting there thinking, this is perfect. You get one stop. They foul you. You go up 5. This is perfect. Instead, last play, and look, I actually get it. This is a game where there's so many guys out of the lineup. I actually get the Ty Lue, like, let's not play around here. One shot, send this to overtime, or we'll go home. I almost respect it, but it was weird to watch.
I get it from Ty Lue's perspective because the Nuggets really outplayed the Clippers in the fourth. Jokic was kind of catching fire. I mean, they outscored the Clippers 24-17 in the fourth. If you let that get to an overtime, if you're the Clippers, you probably lose it.
Right.
But to put the ball in the hands of a second-round pick who had an okay game for you. I mean, he was good. 6 of 15, Brandon Boston was for 18 points.
Wow, 6 of 15.
He was okay, but I like the strategy, maybe not the execution I would have gone with if I was the Clippers there.
I just feel like whenever you have an opportunity to actually work on things that you're going to need throughout the season, I think you should work on those type of things. So there's no reason for you to, in my opinion, to just have the one shot.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it should be a situational. You don't give me many of those. So try to get a shot up, try to get a rebound, go for the fouls. Like, just to have those type of, like late game execution type things. So I was a little bit upset about them having that last shot.
If you're the Clippers and you see Mr. Dependable checking Brandon Boston on the last play of the game, you got to call an audible at that point.
This might, you know what? I'm glad you went there because this might be the top. I mean, the top story is Jokic. We're going to get to him, guys. 26 points, 22 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He does, and in a fourth quarter that was like they needed a big quarter from him, and it was almost like he knew exactly how much he had left in the tank and saved it. But before we get to him and all that, Davon Reed tonight is probably the second best Nugget in the game. He gets 15 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. Does a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. He was a +8 in this game, which is really impressive. But we've said this a lot. Like, this was a good game from him because he made shots. I mean, he finishes 6 of 8, 3 of 4 from the 3-point line. That's not his game. He's not going to shoot those percentages every single night, but he's just solid. He does a little, like, defensively, he's not a shutdown defender, but you put him in that moment and he's going to give you a great effort. He's not going to make big mistakes. I'm just so impressed with him, and I'm glad that closing this game, he was on the court with Jokic, because I think Denver needs a player like that alongside Jokic, who's just like, Jokic doesn't have to worry about. He's just going to do his job. You just need guys like that.
What I find wild is when you look around, the association, with every other team, there's so many, guys that are coming up from the G League or just having to play just because there's not enough able bodies. The Nuggets have enough able bodies, and they're closing the game with a guy on a 10-day contract. A guy that has been in the starting lineup in his small tenure in the NBA. A guy that Jokic feels comfortable around, Malone feels comfortable putting, in those type of situations. And it's great that his name is Mr. Dependable, because that's what they do for him. Yeah. When you have to put a guy in and he plays, 20 plus minutes, he's knocking down shots, he's playing on defense, he's doing all of the small, like the little things. He's not standing out in the wrong ways. That's what you need from a guy. Like, Davon Reed is an NBA player, like true and true. It's not a 10-day guy. He's a guy that deserved to be on a roster, and he shows that in those type of games. He really was the Nuggets' second best player, and he knocked down shots. He played defense. He did everything that you needed him to do, and he's a reason that they didn't lose a very embarrassing game.
Yeah, he just didn't really make any mistakes tonight. And that's kind of a theme of his.
He got hot in that little stretch where he knocked down a couple threes, and it was like Denver desperately needed it, and he was there for him.
But he doesn't make mistakes, and he always makes the right and the correct play. When he's supposed to shoot it and he has an opening and the ball finds him, he lets it fly. When he needs to attack defense and make a defense kind of bend and maybe break, he does that. When he needs to pass the ball and keep it moving, he does that. He just knows how to play basketball. He plays both ends of the floor. He plays offense. He plays defense. He's not an elite defender, but he's very capable. He's not going to make mistakes on that end of the floor either. And on the offensive end, he just knows his role. And Michael Malone obviously trusts him. And he's just a guy they got to keep around. They've got to.
He also has good measurables. I mean, he's big. He's 6'5", which isn't huge, because I know sometimes he plays a little bit of 3 or what have you. But he's got a 7-foot wingspan. A 7-foot wingspan, which is huge. I'm kind of like all in on this. Like,
he's
wingspan
strong
is more
enough
important.
too.
Yeah,
he's strong enough.
So the measurables, I think, are important here. But you're right that it's not the situation where they only had 8 guys, so he's playing. Zeke Naji didn't play tonight. Zeke Naji did not play tonight. Denver's first-round pick from a year ago. JaMychal Green only plays 11 minutes. Bones Highland, Denver's first-round pick from this season, who did not have a great game, he only plays 15 minutes. So Davon Reed was over those guys. He gets 26 minutes tonight, basically plays starter minutes, plays more than Jeff Green, and and he gets that. Here's the thing I'll say. It's tough, man. Like, I've had, and I still have these complaints with Michael Malone. I don't know that some coaches find a way to develop young players even when you have a veteran team. And I think Malone just consistently has not been able to do that. And that's why Bones Highland, Zeke Naji tonight basically not playing a ton of minutes. But Tim Conley has 2 skills, I think, like 2 elite skills. And they're both scouting. One is scouting young prospects, and one is scouting these types of guys. Like, I'm not surprised Davon Reed is good. Malone finds these types of guys. And I almost wonder, like, you watch how this season has unfolded. Maybe this is a unique season. But I almost wonder, like, in part, what is the value of a first-round draft pick to Denver? And is it maybe less valuable from this point going forward? And those are more trade chips. And then Tim Conley overemphasized now finding Davon Reeds to put around this team. I don't know.
I mean, if you think about the last couple of first-rounders that Denver's had, Zeke Naji, he had a run of 5-6 games in the rotation just now. Had a really great game against the Knicks.
Like 8 games. But
had a great game against the Knicks. Hasn't really done much with his minutes since. Bones Highland, obviously been up and down as a rookie guard. If you think about what R.J. Hampton would have been in the Nuggets system this season, probably not doing much.
Wouldn't have played that much.
So I think that's a valid point. Like, first-round picks are very valuable because you can get a really high upside player under team control for 4 years. Yeah. And that's just something that's really valuable in the NBA to have. But if you can just pluck these guys out of Europe or the G League, that's that's also really valuable too.
Yeah, it's just interesting that when you're sitting here watching this, and we've done this so many times now where you're like, why didn't this guy play? And by the way, I think it was the right move tonight not to play Zeke Nnaji.
Sure.
Like, he's been in a little bit of a rut.
Yeah,
but
they've given him minutes, and he hasn't really done much with them.
But I just don't know that Denver has the path there at the moment. Davon Reed, really, really good job tonight. And here's the other question. Do you have another one? I was going to say,
go into this. Yeah.
His 10 days are up. I think he gets one more game with Denver here coming up against Golden State, and then his 10 days are up. I'm not sure exactly if Denver can get another 10-day in there or what. But at a certain point, you just have to decide,
right,
is this our guy? Is this Denver's guy long term?
I think it's an easy call.
Really?
I really do. For a bunch of different reasons. Like I was saying earlier, he's shown that he can be a rotation player at this level for this team right now. He fits right in. The game isn't too fast for him. He plays both ends of the floor and fits the Jokic ball system. He can play read and react basketball. So I think he fits with Jokic and this team's identity pretty well. Michael Malone already trusts him. That's something that is sometimes tough to do with him and, inexperienced players. And look, they've got Bol taking up this 15th roster spot right now. He hasn't given them anything all year. He's not going to give them anything for the rest of the season. You're wasting that roster spot right now. Right. It's going to absolutely nothing. And for a team that's ravaged by injuries, you've got 2 max players out probably for most of this season. Like, you need every single guy on the roster to be able to contribute. So if you're the Nuggets, man, I actually think it's pretty easy. You've got to waive Bol or cut him or trade him for whatever you can. Sign Davon Reed to that spot because you get him now, but you could also probably lock him in on a cheap deal and get him for next year too. And then there's an off-the-bench guard that Michael Malone knows he can play and that the Nuggets know can play rotation minutes next year. So it seems like an easy decision to me. I know they probably want to wait until the deadline to see if Bol can get them anything in return, but it seems like a clear call to me.
I also think it's a very, very easy call. When you look at a player like Bol, first off, they've had him for multiple years. He's been a part of, packages like that they're supposed to have. So you kind of already know who's like canvassing and wants him.
Right.
It hasn't been much, or he would have already been gone.
Who?
But then
Davon Reed?
Bol, I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of
course. So then you look at it as, what is Bol there for? It can't be for insurance purposes because he just talked about it. This team has already been ravaged by injuries, and Bol still does not play.
It's very clear Bol has no purpose for this team.
He has no purpose. So what is the reason to keep him around if you could get a player that you're going to go down the stretch and play with, who's going to be able to step up in times where Aaron Gordon is not able to play, when you have guys at the end of the bench that you'd rather play him over? It's not only Bol. Like, we're not just going to sit here and just make it seem like it's just Bol. Zeke Nnaji, he stepped over. JaMychal Green, he was over tonight. Bones Highland, he was over tonight. So this is a guy that actually can bring you something and you feel comfortable doing it. Also, your coach feels comfortable with it. The team feels comfortable with it. Davon Reed is a player that everyone feels comfortable around. So what is the point of having a guy like Bol around and not Davon Reed, where you could get him on a lower contract?
To be clear, I think Davon Reed is an end-of-bench player. But what do you need out of an end-of-bench player? Denver, over the last few seasons, has had high upside prospects. That's what Bol is, right? Like, if he hits, he's incredible. Well, what Davon Reed is if everybody's healthy, he's not playing. But if somebody goes down, you're like, that's a guy that can go in and give me solid minutes, knows the system, knows who he is, and it's like everybody knows how to play with him. So that's the idea. Like, this is not a Davon Reed's going to shut down Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs. So like, I just don't think he's that kind of defender.
Sure.
I don't think he's that kind of scorer. If you're counting on him in a playoff series, you're probably in trouble. But moments like this, when you're like, who are our guys that we can go to? He fits that bill. As did Austin Rivers, by the way, last year. I mean, that was part of what Austin Rivers was. I would so much rather have had any of Denver's other guards there. But if they're out, are you completely helpless? At least in one series, they weren't. So that's the thing with Davon.
And the other thing is, if you allow him to go back down to the G League, we've seen that teams can just come in and pluck guys from Grand Rapids, Nick Stauskas, Lance Stevenson. That's going to happen with Davon Reed if the Nuggets let him get back to the G League. Another team was definitely watching tonight. They've probably watched his other games on these 10-day contracts, and they're probably thinking a lot of the same things we are. Like, this guy can give us maybe not like the highest upside of minutes, but he can give us minutes off the bench. And for teams that are like super depleted by COVID, that might have a roster spot or might create one, they could sign him.
Who? Are you talking just Denver? I thought you said there was another team.
No, just
any other team.
A team out there, just like
team,
just like they did with Nick Stauskas.
Yeah,
Davon Reed's going to give you a lot more than Nick Stauskas. I can guarantee you that.
And by the way, the reason everybody, it's so easy for us to sit here and say just pay out Bull, because really what it comes down to is you either trade him and you try to just like Denver can trade him for a top 55 protected second round pick, which basically means just nothing. Like you're just basically giving him away, but you have to trade something of value. So you could do that. And to get just so you get something back in exchange. You can also give it and give like $200,000 cash to help pay the remainder of his salary. The only other option is if you buy him out and pay the remainder of his salary, which I always thought Denver was going to do anyway. They just wanted to wait till the like you said, exhaust all options, and if it doesn't happen, then you buy him out the day after the trade deadline. Then you add a player. But Denver might not have that luxury right now. They might be looking at this as, how do we get through January right now without Davon Reed? It's so crazy to say, but this is the season we have right now. I don't know that Denver necessarily can survive without him. So that's that. Another just point of clarification here. My point about Michael Malone, like, yes, I think it's a weakness of his. Like, there are great coaches, Eric Spoelstra, who get rookies to be impact players throughout the season and they come along. It's a weakness of his, but every coach has strengths and weaknesses. It's just now you have to adjust as a front office member. You have to sort of adjust to him and say, okay, what's the point of I could find a guy at 26 who really should have gone at 18? Doesn't matter. 26, 18, 13. Malone doesn't play these guys right now. He doesn't want them. He wants to move on. So
I mean, he has given his two youngest players opportunity this year, though.
Who's that?
Zeke and Bones.
Oh, right.
Those guys have played enough.
Sure.
They've played
and Bones
definitely
wasn't
enough.
Good tonight.
No, and Zeke just got a run of like a couple weeks in the rotation. Like no complaints there on not playing those guys.
Sure. How much time we got here, Kel? Are we at first break yet? Let's take our first break. On the other side, let's get into Jokic's game tonight, because it was interesting in ways both good and bad. Mostly good, but a little bit of just there's some interesting takeaways from him tonight as he drops 26, 22, and 8. His stat lines are so dumb.
Guys, make sure to pick up some Mile High City Copper Lager from Breckenridge Brewery. Pick some up at your local liquor store. Pick some up at your local grocery store. It's the beer of the Nuggets season. So when the game's on, crack a Mile High City Copper Lager. Helps you enjoy the game a little bit more.
You know what you might be able to find a deal on right now?
What's that?
The Christmas ale.
You think you can find one of those
cake?
little personal kegs? Do you find
By the way, shouts to Brian, who drank an entire My Little Pony cake, and
then let us all know about it in the DMs. He was
very
stunting
drunk
on it.
DM. It was very impressive. So I guess it is possible.
I still believe I can take down the entire Christmas ale personal keg. I will do it live at a later date on the show.
Late to be determined. I love that we're gonna have to buy a Christmas ale now so you can do this.
We have the keg. We have the Christmas ale keg.
Does that is that good until July?
That's a good point. That's been sitting out here for a while.
I'm gonna make him drink a stale keg.
I knew you couldn't do it.
It smells terrible.
My tummy hurts.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But yeah, pick up some Mile High City Copper Lager from Breckenridge Brewery today. Also, at DraftKings Sportsbook, they've always got great deals going on. I hope you guys took advantage of the Christmas promos that they had. They had a lot of stuff going on Christmas Day with all the NBA games. They got NFL action on Christmas Day too. But DraftKings Sportsbook, it's an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Make sure to log on there before Nuggets games. Put together a winning parlay like Adam did today. Then you can immediately talk about it as the lead in your post-game show.
It wasn't a winner. That's the problem. Should have been a winner.
An almost winner.
I can't believe the thing I missed of all of those was the most likely to lock. Denver 3.5 against that roster.
Man, I think that was a good parlay.
Yeah.
DraftKings, you can also, like I just talked about, the parlays. It's a safe, secure, reliable service. You can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Super easy, super user-friendly. Can't recommend the DraftKings Sportsbook app enough. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. When you're a new user and you sign up, use promo code DNVR. That's on the DraftKings Sportsbook app. They are an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
Nikola Jokic tonight. I have a shout out I was supposed to give, but I'm trying to find it. I can't remember where it was. I have a note in here. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. I can't. Damn it. I'm going to have to really dig deep to find this one. Jokic tonight, he has struggled scoring the basketball efficiently. 9 of 24 tonight. It's been a handful of games now. I know there's some speculation about his wrist, which all is fair. He could be banged up. We also just set the bar so high for him that he shoots 60% almost every single game. So when he shoots 30%, you're like, what the heck is going on here? And rightfully so. But here's the thing. 26 points, 22 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. In that fourth quarter specifically, he has our DraftKings Sportsbook King of the game. I see that's up there right now. You see that? That stat line alone is ridiculous. But here's the thing. He has got such a burden tonight. No Aaron Gordon on top of Murray and Jokic already out. So he already knows he has to do a little bit more. His defense was terrible tonight, all the way up until the fourth quarter, where it was actually pretty dominant. He actually had dominant defense. I think 3 steals in the fourth quarter. He was everywhere. And it's frustrating because you don't like watching him get dunked on and not step up and get scored on repeatedly. But there is, I just think, a level of he knows exactly how far the finish line is on any given game, and he knows exactly how to, prorate his energy.
Yeah.
For a guy to go 26 points, 22 rebounds, and 8 assists, if any other star would have done that in the league, they'd be on Good Morning America tomorrow. It would be the best thing that's ever happened to them. And we're just like, it's an okay game.
Do you watch a lot of
them.
Good Morning America?
I don't know what day that comes on, but I would assume that it would start out the week.
It's a Monday.
It just sounds like it. But really, that's a monster game. And the only reason that we're saying that is because we're so used to him doing it in a more efficient way. Yeah. But he found a way to win the game for his team, so put the team on his back. You talk about that defense in the fourth quarter. It was excellent. He's stepping over. He's in help side the entire time. He's putting his body on the line. He was on the ground a few times in that fourth quarter just because he's laying it all out on the line. And you talk about him just pacing himself the entire time like a cross-country runner where he's going to finish off strong. And I mean, that's the difference in the game, and that's just the type of mental player that he is, just a high IQ player that just kind of gets it done. The way that the Clippers played against Jokic tonight, really, this was not just a bad game for the Clippers. They played a really well game, and also I think Ty Lue is really good.
He's one of the best. I think he might be the best coach.
He adjusted to a lot of things. He sent a lot of double teams, and Jokic had to actually make smart passes. They set him up a few times for a couple of turnovers. They just gave him so many different looks where you don't see that in basketball. Those are football type of looks, but he found a way. So you have to give credit to the Clippers and also Jokic. But, I mean, he's really the MVP of this league. Again, he really is. 22 rebounds, and he's been doing it every single game. That's monster game.
Yeah.
Part of why he had so many rebounds tonight, kept missing shots.
I know,
and it's same as the other night. That last game, it's you get a lot of rebounds when he misses them. Yeah. But
and it was weird because the Nuggets had such a hard time getting him the ball in the first half, man. The Clippers were switching everything. And every single time down the floor, they got the Nick Batum matchup on Nikola Jokic, and they just could not get him the ball.
Yeah. And
they finally were able to start getting him the ball in the third quarter, and that's when Jokic got a couple easy buckets to go and found a rhythm a little bit.
But he also he had to force, there were shots he took tonight, there were 4 defenders on him.
Yeah.
And it's I think he kind of knows that. Yeah. I can't just make the right play every time. Sometimes I have to make the wrong play because what else are we going to do? And
totally.
Here's the worst part, Harrison. There's a lot of ways to beat the Nuggets right now. That's the truth of it. You hope that as good as the Nuggets are, if they are fully healthy, there's 1 or 2 ways to beat them, and that's what makes a team like them hard. Is you have to be perfect at a very specific game plan. There's so many different ways, and one of the ways, and this has happened a handful of times over these last few games, one of the ways to beat them is to use length. They had that tonight. They had outside of Bledsoe, a lot of really long bodies on them. And to crowd Jokic and then just you're giving up open shots, but you're contesting them with length because Denver has some guys that can make them. If you leave them wide open and they get to set, they got guys that can make them. But Monte, Jeff Green, Austin Rivers, Facu, Bones, all these guys, if you throw a body, even if you have no chance of blocking them, just run them off so they have to speed up and be that, then you can get them. And I think that's what you saw a lot of tonight was Denver couldn't get him the ball because they're crowding Jokic. And when they did crowd him, swarm him,
they really
force
did
the kick out, but don't force it to where you're just leaving a guy open. Run him off the line. And that's the MO against Denver right now. Teams are executing it very well, and it's making Denver look horrible.
Yeah. And then defensively, like he was awful through 3 quarters, and I really wonder if he was saving some energy for the fourth.
There's no question.
I was joking during the game. Does Draymond Green need to go on TNT again and call out Nikola Jokic's defense for him to shift things into gear like he did 2 years ago? But then the fourth, Michael Malone brings back Jokic with 10.5 minutes left in the game.
Thank God.
I think that's definitely the earliest he's brought him back.
Do you know when he brought him back?
Yeah.
Not a moment too soon.
Right.
Seriously.
The Clippers got a dunk, and then Keon Johnson went to the line for 2 free throws on their next possession. Boom, he brings them back in after LA starts the quarter on a 3-0 run.
Jeez. It is one of those things, though. It's like Denver won this game by 3. He came in I think, 10 minutes, 34 seconds, something like that.
That was exactly it.
If he comes in one more possession later, they probably lose.
Maybe.
Honest to God, they probably lose. That's how narrow the margins were for him tonight. Also, the biggest shot of the game, and there's a couple different candidates for this, but in my opinion, his 1 3-pointer tonight was it was at that exact moment where it's like, my God, they're going to lose this, aren't they? They're down 8 or 6 or something like that, and he comes in with confidence and drains a 3, and you're like, they might win.
Yeah.
They might win this one.
My last thing about Jokic, I'm going into conspiracy corner here. So cue the graphic. I wish we had the hat because I would put it on right now. At the beginning of this game, at the jump ball, if you look at the play, like Jokic, I don't really know what he was doing, but he was like twerking and like said something to Billy Kennedy, the ref, and Billy Kennedy like chuckled and was laughing hysterically, and it delayed the jump ball for a second. Sure, hotbox knock takes. Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets don't usually get 50-50 calls from the officials, or that many calls for that matter. They got some calls down the stretch from Billy Kennedy.
That's so funny.
And I was just thinking about what happened at the jump ball and wondering if that one interaction got Jokic on Billy Kennedy's good side tonight.
I think it did, honestly. I'm not lying.
Let's go.
I really
Let's
do.
go.
You don't see those, like the last call when Eric Bledsoe came and just kind of bulldozed into Jokic.
Yeah.
But he had the ball also. Other times they would have just called that a jump ball where, you know,
It might have
Jokic would have
been.
probably
Might have been,
exactly. So there it goes right there. He gave him that. There was a couple of that's tipped out of bounds where he gave it to him. And just kind of let him go to the free throw line. Jokic was 7-7 from the free throw line, and he just kind of gave him to him. So I do think that it mattered a little bit.
I will say, this is going to sound revisionist here. Billy Kennedy, I think, is my favorite official.
He's mine too.
He's very non-confrontational.
Best official in the league.
He's very. I don't like his calls. I don't know. I can't say enough to know because there are there are certain guys that it's like. Always, he's a charge guy. He calls way more charges than normal. I don't know what Billy Kennedy's known for. The one thing I'll say is he's very good at diffusing the situation. You know, the opposite of Joey Crawford, who's Joey Crawford would always escalate anybody's frustration. Billy Kennedy, very good at guys are losing their cool, and he's like, calm down now, man. Yeah. Have you heard him talk too?
Yeah. He just seems like a cool guy.
No, he's got the funniest. All referees are weird. This is a theory. You cannot be a referee at this level unless you're a complete and total weirdo. And every time he goes, the way he does the calls is he's like, the call on the field or the call on the court remains the same. It's
but there's even times where guys did something and they're just like, all right, and they just get back on defense. If the ref is calling things that are both ways, where you just get back on defense,
that's a great point.
That goes a different way. We didn't even see Jokic try to go for a real hack today when he made a mistake, or if there was not a call that didn't go his way, and they were sitting double teams the entire time, so he felt contact the entire game, but it just doesn't happen when he's reffing.
Tony Brothers was reffing tonight's game. Man. Jokic might have gotten a technical for whatever he did on that jump ball.
For sure.
He might have gotten teed up right there.
Before the game even begins. Can you get a technical before the jump ball?
Probably
I think so.
Probably get a violation.
If you do something in warm-ups, I bet you can get a technical.
This isn't high school. No hanging on the rim. No hanging. Come on, man. That's so funny. You got a referee you like?
God.
You play. I do. Like you have leagues you play in enough, and you got guys that either you just think are better or you just like. I know one actually I like a lot. Not even a good ref. I just like the guy.
I don't really like refs.
Not a single one.
No.
How many texts you getting these days?
Not many.
You're not getting many.
I don't
texts?
have the energy to get a text. I'm not getting back on defense.
Every whistle, you're just catching your breath. Like, I don't even have time
I'm
to
waiting
argue.
for a few foul calls. Like, man, take your time. Take your time.
We all got our. You got refs you like.
Oh, of course, man. Of course.
And you got the refs that you're like, oh my god, this clown.
Yeah.
The thing is, the funny is in the NBA, this stuff obviously exists. You know, like the Tony Brothers thing. But like at the high school level or whatever, like local or even just the recreational level, you got guys that for real will have grudges against certain dudes. Or this
Oh,
and that,
man,
and there's there's no repercussions.
You know it going into the game
you
too.
walk into the gym and you see the guy that like hates your guts. And you're like, we're just losing tonight, guys. Like,
Well, you either have that or you know you're not going to get any calls tonight, or you get the like 65-year-old retired dude who's like 5'8", 300 pounds and can't even make it to half court.
He doesn't even go to the other side of the court.
He just walks from like the out of bounds line to like a step before half court, then runs back the other way.
That's the worst one for sure. That's the worst.
Like it's
one.
going to be a long night when you see that guy walking to the gym.
The other one you get if you're playing in a league and you know you get the 9:30 game every now and then, the real late game, and it's the same refs have been there 6:30, 7:30.
They just want to get out of there.
9:30, man. You're the fourth quarter. The whistles are gone. Yeah, it's 10:30, 10:45.
Running clock. Why is the clock running?
Everything takes forever.
The refs are saying things like, "Hey, watch the carry. You watch the carry. That's your job. Get your hands off of them. You're fouling them. So blow the whistle."
That's so funny, man. Yeah, so Jokic tonight continues to do Jokic things. Are we concerned at all about the poor shooting slump? Or, I mean,
I say no, just because he continues to find a way. Also, we know he's going to get back. For him to still be putting up monster numbers with, him not being at his best, or just not even playing at his best, because I can't even say it is his wrist. He's just not playing the same efficient, perfect way that we have been seeing for so long. We know that it's going to come back. He also looks frustrated when he misses those type of shots. So, he's going to work more at it, or he's just going to start going to it. Also, what we got to see is when he misses a few of those, he gets more aggressive because he's upset that it happened. So I'm not going to say I enjoy when he misses a couple, but I'm like, when I started seeing him miss a few going down the stretch, I was like, oh, he's going to take the next 5 shots just because that's just the type of competitor he is. I think he'll get out of that slump soon.
Mm-hmm. We don't really mention enough the fact that he took 24 shots tonight and it felt fine. Like there were times in recent history where Jokic taking 24 shots would have been the top story. Like, oh my God, he took 20 shots tonight. Now he understands the situation. 24 shots, I got to do it every night. He's taking 24.
He's got to.
He's carrying a lot. I thought Will Barton was actually good in this game at parts, like the start of the game and then really at the end of the game. I know, and I saw the timeline. We were sitting here watching the game together. Kale, one of the last plays, Nuggets run a pick and roll. Both guys jump at Jokic. Both guys, Will Barton's wide open from the three-point line. Now, Jokic had just scored and done everything for 8 plays in a row. So I know it felt like a hell or high water, just get it to Jokic. I was fine with that shot. He steps into a three-pointer at the top of the key. There's literally nobody on him because they both went at Jokic, and he takes it and misses. Now, it sucks that he misses. Like, you take that shot, you need to knock it down. But at the same time, the Clippers made their decision tonight. Mm-hmm. They made their decision tonight, and it was let anybody else beat you. And Denver actually had a couple guys, Davon Reed, Austin Rivers, that decided. And Will Barton tonight, 17 points on 18 shots. But I thought that he had really bad stretches, but I thought he had also really good stretches as well in the little pockets of it.
Yeah, one thing about that game is you want to say give the ball to Jokic, but also we just talked about it. Jokic was seeing a lot of double and triple teams at times.
Quadruple on
He
some.
also took 24 shots, which we just said is something that is like pretty big and aggressive from him. Who else did you want him? Like, who else did you want shooting the ball? They don't have many playmakers. They're in a spot where he has to try to create. It gets lower in the shot clock, and Will Barton's going to take those type of shots. It was also really good to see him get out of a slump where he was not being able to score at all.
Yeah,
he scored 17 points in the game, and you needed every single one of those baskets. Do I think that Barton played good? No, I don't think that he played good. But I think that he did what the defense allowed him to do, and you need that from a veteran because everyone else would have kind of just kept on passing it around until something happened. I seen that in him and Facu where they're like, okay, everybody's like putting all the attention on Jokic. we have to do something. We have to kickstart the offense in some type of way, and that's the type of game I've seen from Barton today.
When Barton gets himself in trouble sometimes, and I think we've seen this in the last 2 games, he hits a shot, and maybe it's like a nice step in 3 or like a nice
tough shot
ISO,
like,
tough shot at the rim.
I'm cooking now.
Yeah, and he gives himself the green light for like the next 4 to 5 possessions. It's the Barton show for another minute. So that's when he gets himself into trouble. I think that happened tonight once.
Yep.
But like Dev said, I mean, 17 points, and they needed all of them tonight because right now this team struggles to score 100 points. They struggle to get to 100 points even when they're getting 26 every night out of Nikola Jokic. So you got to take where the Nuggets are right now. You've got to just take a couple bad Barton sequences. You just got to take them because you need his production at the end.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Austin Rivers also hit some shots tonight, including 4 3-pointers.
A big 3 too.
He had a big 3 as well that could have easily also been the shot of the game. 4 of 6 from the 3-point line. But here's the big thing: like Barton, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Like he actually had a couple other stats in there. Austin Rivers, since coming back from COVID, has been he's been a bright spot. He actually looks like. It's funny because it's same with Davon Reed. I'm not saying he looks great. I'm not saying he looks incredible. He got this or that. But he has played better than what the expectations should be for him over these last 4 or 5 games since he's come back. And that's at least a silver lining for me.
And he talked about when he was coming back from COVID how he felt like the physical and the mental break was going to be good for him. And I believe him. You know, he looks a little more spry. He said earlier this season he was playing through some injuries. I don't know what those were, but he looks a little more spry right now. And I think mentally, he's just like making the simpler play. You still get the couple jab steps every now and then. You still get, the ball stopping or the record scratching here or there. But I think him, playing the right way and playing with a 0.5 mentality, I think you're seeing that more now than you did pre his bout with COVID.
Yeah, it was also good to see him play a lot more off the ball just because he had to start at the shooting guard position. So he led the game in 3-pointers made, and that's just, creating that space and also just being shot ready. There was a lot of times that, they're just overloading on one spot. Jokic kicks it out to the open man, and Rivers is the open man, and he's ready to knock down the shot, which now makes the defense have to alter throughout the entire game. Austin Rivers hit 2 early threes, so now they're like, okay, maybe we don't bite on every single one, or now we're just going to try to shift, the way that they play. So it's those little small things that Austin Rivers gives you. Like he's going to change the pace of the game. He's going to knock down threes in this type of game. He's going to offer, solid defense where you just can't go after him. And he just – a guy that was DNP, like getting DNPs to start the season, and now he's starting, and now he's relied upon. That was a solid game from him. And late in the game, he wasn't doing too much where he stood out in the wrong way.
Yeah. Monte Morris, the last guy I feel like is maybe noteworthy here. 5 of 14 from the field. He was a team high plus 11, which means something that doesn't always mean, directly it's his credit or whatever, but 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. But I feel like he's in a bit of a rut. I feel like he's in a little bit of a 3-game slump, including tonight.
He started out this game horrible, 1 for 7.
Horrible.
And then he knocked down 3 straight shots in a row. That really was a momentum changer, a momentum shifter that they really needed, because that's when the Clippers went on their run. So, he really did step up at the right times, but he just, he just doesn't look the same right now. It looks like everything's forced. It looks like the game's not coming to him as smooth as it once was, and he just can't find himself offensively, which is altering a lot of the other things. Also, I feel like they're kind of going after him on the defensive end as well. So just confidence is not up, and he just can't score, which now the Nuggets really do need him to score. When you look at, the field goals attempts, it was, Jokic, Barton, and him.
Right.
Those are the guys that they have to rely on. So they need him to create. They need him to get going in certain ways. He really is in a rut right now.
That turnover, by the way, at the very end.
I was going to bring that up.
He's a point guard. those turnovers are like, come on, man. Especially he's a low mistake point guard.
He's a low mistake guy who you always feel like so comfortable when the ball's in his hands. Like, oh, Monte's got the ball. Probably not going to be a turnover here.
Yeah.
And then just commits a huge gaffe that almost cost Denver the game pretty much.
Yeah.
It was a terrible play. But, yeah, he's in a little bit of a rut right now. Like, when I always think of Monte Morris at his best, it's when you think back to that Portland series where he's just coming off the high pick and roll. He's either going to the rim, getting the ball back to Jokic, pulling up for that mid-range jumper. And he just hasn't gotten to those same spots or isn't playing with that same aggressiveness right now.
Yeah. The last question I have before we go to our final break here, but, the Nuggets had a nice lead and blew it. And it felt a little bit like the same thing as that Oklahoma City game. And I just wonder, Charlotte. And I wonder if Denver has a bit of a confidence, like their confidence is rattled. I mean, they didn't play. The Clippers were more shorthanded than Denver was tonight. And yet this was a grind. And I wonder if Denver's a little rattled in a way that they need to be stabilized. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they get rattled pretty easily right now. And I mean, I wonder if it's because they look around, they look at each other and they go, man, we're kind of a one-man team. And it's like, do we really have confidence in ourselves to get through this? Or do we just look to this one guy, the MVP, the best player in the NBA, and say, if he doesn't carry us through this, we might blow another game. Like, I wonder if it's as simple as that. So that's why wins like this are so important because, it wasn't pretty, but you prove that you can just eke out a win,
Yeah, that's what I was saying, that this, in a lot of ways was a must-win game because if you lose that game, you already talk about them being a little bit rattled. How rattled do you think it would be if they lost to that team with those guys out there? It's not losing to a pretty good, up and coming team that just played hard. That Thunder game, they just kind of played really well that night.
Yeah.
That wasn't that. The Clippers team that they had out there is a team that you should win, 10 out of 10 times. But they played them extremely hard, and there wasn't many, positive games. So, I think that they're rattled, and really you need a big, big win or a win against a really good team for you to try to get yourself going.
Let's take our final break, but before we do, I have to give a shout out to one of our OGs, one of somebody that's always watching, I think in the chat from time to time too, Josef Schneider, who I am told had tickets to the game on the 23rd. We're supposed to shout him out on the 23rd, but honestly, Losers Lounge, like, come on, man, like we can't do it. So we wait for a Winners Lounge here. I know he had surgery, out of commission for basketball for a while, had to miss the Nuggets as well. Die hard DNVR fan and Nuggets fan, so I wanted to give him a good shout out.
Joseph, shout out Joseph. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, man.
Or Joseph. It could be Joseph. I could be giving it to Joseph. It actually might be Joseph.
Okay.
Now that I think of it.
Well, we appreciate your support, man. Hope you get through this. Guys, I forgot to mention, Nuggets 1-0 in must-win games this year.
Yes, let's go,
1-0. 1-0. Must-win games.
There, we got to start giving it to them.
It's actually on us.
Yes.
It's on us to heighten the pressure. Lightshade Dispensary, guys, the presenting sponsor of the DNVR Nuggets podcast and every Winners Lounge that we do. They've got 10, soon to be 11 Colorado locations. They're Colorado's premier dispensary. Podcast listeners, you guys can get 25% off non-sale items with the code DNVR. That's valid at all Lightshade locations. You can also shop online at lightshade.com and then go to one of those 10, soon to be 11 locations and pick up. Like I said, Colorado's premier dispensary, Lightshade has a premium selection of cannabis concentrates, top shelf flower, edibles, tinctures, accessories, and much more. Check out our favorite brands like Escape Artists and Wana. Again, go to lightshade.com. You can shop there and then pick up at a Lightshade location near you and use the code DNVR for 25% off non-sale items. Use the code DNVR, 25% off non-sale items at lightshade.com or in store. Also at Manscaped. Hope you guys took advantage of those deals Manscaped had going on for Christmas. If you haven't, or go to manscaped.com. Use the code DNVR. They've got tons of great stuff other than just the Lawnmower 4.0 or the Performance Package 4.0. You can get the Manscaped 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner that was recently launched. You can get the Manscaped Cologne Infused Body Wash. Their luxury 4-piece nail kit, the 2.0 version of that. The Manscaped Signature Cologne. Tons and tons of products from Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use the code DNVR. Get 20% off plus free shipping on anything you buy at Manscaped. It can be one of those products I just listed. It can be the Lawnmower 4.0. Manscaped.com. Use the code DNVR for 20% off your purchase.
Nothing worse than when your nose hairs get out of control.
Yeah.
You ever look in the mirror and see that and you're like, oh.
Something you don't think about, but when you need the nose hair trimmer, you just got to have it.
Now I keep, there's a few things I keep in my car. This is such a dad energy thing. One of them is deodorant, just in case you ever just need an emergency hit. Another one, a razor.
An emergency hit.
A razor. You ever had the thing where you get in the car and you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, did I miss a spot right here? Never. Now, boom. Make sure you got a little touch up. At all times.
The look Deb just gave you.
Look at this unkept beard he's got. He doesn't know what I'm talking about over here.
Can't relate.
Can't relate at all. We got some super chats to hit too. Maybe a little around the association while we wait for Brendan vote.
Super chats.
What do we got? Oh, just one. They don't love us tonight. We were too down. We weren't happy enough for the winners.
I thought this has been a great show.
I thought it was too, but the comments don't lie.
Man, disappointing.
It's not our decision. Although this one is from Funky Puma. It's a big super chat. With many other events making changes due to COVID, what have you heard about NBA possible making changes? Month delay, no more fans, etc. I just don't see. I mean, the only thing I've heard is the thing that I've read that everybody's read from Adam Silver, who basically says what I think is logically taught, that there's no point in shutting things down. This is Michael Malone referenced this, by the way, earlier in the pre-game when he spoke to the media before the game. I think we're all coming to grips with the fact that this is actually the reality we live with now. It's not a short-term reality. It's like, hey, man, we might have to start making decisions about how do we exist and how do we go forth with sporting events and sports leagues and this or that. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say to throw caution to the wind. It's more about, before it was, can we wait this out? Can we do this or that? It might just be, hey, this is it, what we do, up testing, maybe make certain types of restrictions, this or that. But as far as shutting the league down, there's just I don't think there's a point.
Yeah.
This isn't going to be better in January 20th.
Right. And something I learned about the tests that the NBA has for COVID that I don't think the general public has access to is when the NBA does a test for COVID, it spits back a reading, it spits back a number, and that's pretty much how bad of COVID you have.
Interesting.
0 to 100. And if you're under a certain level, it pretty much means you're not contagious. Wow. So I wonder if that's the NBA's next step. If you're returned a 30, which I think is under the contagion level.
Yeah, I was just reading that. Well, I seen that it was saying that they might let asymptomatic players play. And I was like, there has to be something else that they're not telling you about those type of things. But also, they're even talking about, making the number of days that you have to sit out even less. So this is starting to become the reality.
We're going to power through it.
They really are. So
certain.
that would be the idea. They're not shutting down the league. They're just not.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the NBA is such a microcosm of the world at large that I think is coming to grips with this idea of look, this is just probably going to have to be that we're all going to have to figure out what our risk level is and hopefully make wise decisions based on what your risks are. And then obviously lower those by staying up to date on boosters. Is that it? We got anything else, Kel? One more came in when I pitied everybody into it. Zamora says, vote Jokic for the All-Star game, everybody. give him a vote.
Dude, you know what I thought would be actually really funny? Yes, you should vote Jokic for the All-Star game. He's going to make it. Did you see the Clutch Sports tweet that is trying to send Ben Simmons to the All-Star game? Did you see that?
No.
Yes. Clutch Sports from their official Twitter account tweeted out one of those Ben Simmons and then like hashtag All-Star 2021 or
Oh,
whatever
hell yeah.
it is. The Nuggets should do one where they try to get Jamal Murray to the All-Star game.
let's go. Get
That'd be
Jamal
good.
in.
Somebody should organize that and tweet Jamal Murray.
Can you imagine
for
if
the
that was
All-Star
his
game.
first game back was the All-Star game?
He's not ready to come back, but it's the All-Star game.
All-Star game. He ain't going to miss it. We got one more from Funky who says, some more love for you. Hell yeah. Thank you so much. That's like 4 Rakia shots in Serbia. Can't wait. You guys want to go around the association while VOGT
I think we should.
takes his time here?
There's that beautiful graphic.
there it is. Did anybody even play in the NBA tonight? I don't even know.
There were a bunch of games,
Everybody was playing. All right, let's go around the association. The Magic were down just a little bit south in Miami to take on the Heat, but they dropped that game 83-93. The starting lineup here. Admiral Schofield.
Guys.
your guy.
Guys. You'll get to
Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr. We've got Hassani. What's that?
H. Gravitt.
Yeah, H. Gravitt, Hassani Gravitt, and Gary Harris, who tonight, drum roll please, 20 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Sneaky, guys, sneaky.
I tweeted this out 2 days ago. Gary Harris's last 12 games, 14.8 points, 50% from the field, 41% from 3.
He's the second best Nugget right now.
Those, Adam, are identical to his averages from his breakout 2016-17 season, pretty much. They're identical. We'll see if it holds, but this is vintage Gary Harris right now.
Is Gary back?
Which I think he might be back. Is it vintage Gary Harris or is it contract year Gary Harris? We don't know.
I put that in the Slack as well. Because he did get that contract extension after the 2016-17 season.
What's the minimum amount of games Gary Harris needs to be awesome for to get another big contract? Is it already passed? Is it too late?
Yeah, he's never going to get
You don't
that.
think if he has 50 more games, like there's 45 games left in the season, if he has 45 more games with those numbers, you don't think so? And then
No, because I think he'll just be a contender somewhere. Like he'll be on a contender, so they're not going to pay him to be on a contender.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't think he'll get the same contract, $60 million or whatever it was, but he might get a nice little. Some team might talk themselves into, well, he wasn't healthy. But now he's healthy and this and that. And maybe that is the case. Honestly, I mean, I'm not even belittling.
I could talk myself into that.
I could easily talk myself.
Also,
into
just
it.
looking at this game. So now, whenever Miami plays, I always look at I'm cooking now. Every single time, just to see if he was really cooking. 2 of 8 today.
He had 6 points.
He's absolutely not cooking.
Not cooking.
And now I'm thinking about it. I don't know how much I've ever seen him cook.
I know. He's having a rough year so far this year. RJ Hampton, by the way, goes 6 of 14. He had 14 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. Kind of fills it up a little bit there, but of course they take the L. The Cavaliers, holy crap! Did you guys see the score?
Hell out of them.
144 to 99. The Cavs won tonight over the Toronto Raptors. Your
Hold on,
Cavs.
look at the Raptors roster.
Oh man,
My God.
They got DJ Wilson.
DJ Wilson starting no less. Wow.
Look at the other names besides the
Svi
two that-
Mikhailuk. I've got is that Delano
Banton,
and then
Utah Watanabe.
Utah Watanabe.
Watanabe.
I don't know these guys.
Wow, that's tough.
I don't know
You
these
go to
guys.
the bench, you got is that Daniel?
Look
Daniel
at their plus
Turo.
minuses.
Juwan Morgan.
Tremont Waters.
Juwan Morgan. That's the guy that was with Utah.
I think.
Remember? Yeah. Juwan Morgan.
Weird player.
Yeah, and there's definitely some names you don't recognize.
Minus
on that.
39.
Who the heck was
minus
that?
33.
I guess it's not that impressive then that the Cavs beat them. Although Denver just almost lost to a team of similar value here.
The Cavs also have some names on the bench, including Kevin Pangos.
Yeah, that's a crazy name. Whenever I watch or just look
Gonzaga
at the
legend.
box scores for Cleveland, I go to Kevin Love. He only plays like 18 minutes, 17 minutes. He always has like 20 plus points. Why is he not playing more?
It's because he doesn't pass.
Can you trade
It could be it.
Kevin Love for LeBron James? Do the contracts work out this way?
I mean, Kevin Love is making a lot of money.
Can you imagine? This might happen. It might happen.
He could go play with D Wade again.
By the way,
Dean Wade.
shouts to JB Bickerstaff, man. I think he's a for real good coach. He's got a big extension there.
Yeah.
The 76ers get a win against the Wizards tonight. Joel Embiid goes for 36 points and 13 rebounds, 12 of 17 shooting, a very efficient 12 of 17.
The 76ers are like the Nuggets.
They really are. They really are. They have the same record. Oh, no, they have one more win.
They're just the
17 and
Nuggets of the
16.
East.
They are the Nuggets of the East out there. Kyle Kuzma just 4 of 11 for whatever reason.
You just look at the plus minus. They won by 20 plus, and there was a guy on the team that had minus 14. How?
Furkan Korkmaz.
How though?
Oh my God. The Grizzlies get a win. So John Morant back. They finally win. They beat the Kings, who are, I feel like that's the team you're going to get right against. It's going to be them. Also funny tonight. So did De'Aaron Fox play? He did.
Yeah, he
was a
came
minus
back.
16. John Morant's out there was a plus 27. Because do you guys see that? Amin Al Hassan made that comment publicly where he said John Morant is what De'Aaron Fox thinks he is, and De'Aaron Fox called him out for it.
What?
But
Really?
I think he's right.
Yes.
I think that's actually
Dude,
that's a
I'm just not a De'Aaron Fox guy. Just not.
good. Is that because he's not that good?
I mean, I've never been. Like,
Yeah, me neither. He killed Lonzo Ball in that tournament.
one game.
Yeah, that really bought him
with
a
the
lot.
big logos on the floor.
John Conchar got his start tonight. Wow. John Conchar plus 20, 11 points, 14 rebounds.
My God.
Wait, 14 rebounds for Conchar?
Balling.
Unbelievable.
It's wild. Also,
I love that dude, by the way. Can I tell you?
Yeah?
You should, this is a Harrison Wynn
He's
guy.
right up my
He
alley.
is right up your alley. I love Desmond Bain, too. My God. 11
Desmond
and
Bain
19.
he's unbelievable, to be honest. He's like putting up 25 points every other night, I feel like.
Desmond Bain has 90s high school vibes.
Oh,
he
yeah.
looks like AC Slater.
Yeah, he looks like
Yeah.
like he has a Carlton vibe to him.
He does have
would
a Carlton
piss me
vibe.
off if he was on there like playing and stuff like that. He just looks so proper, and he's just in your ass the entire game.
He just like plays hard. I wouldn't be surprised if he like was slapping the floor on defense. Just doesn't wear any shooting sleeves or anything. Just goes out there and balls.
It's AC Slater mixed with LL Cool J. Put those guys together. That's exactly who they would be. That's the best comp I've ever had. My God, that's a great
Manuel
comp.
Moody is already out of the rotation
Damn
in
it.
Sacramento.
Is he the only guy that didn't play? Oh, no, he played for 3 minutes. He was a plus
Short
2.
rotation stint.
That's a very short 3 minutes. That's sad, man. Poor movie.
I'm
We don't
sorry.
have to bet.
I shouldn't have said
Thanks
that.
for bringing that up. The Thunder. I'm telling you, the Thunder are good. I'm telling you guys, the Thunder are good. They're
They're
beat
the
Pelicans.
worst bad. They're the best bad team.
They are the best bad team, man. And they're better than the Pelicans, who are also a bad team. They have the same record, by the way. Actually, Pelicans have a worse record. How crazy is that?
That's crazy, man.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. How good is this guy?
He's a monster for real. I don't
31
care what your list
points.
says. He's
Four-
better than Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, that list on Bleacher Report. my
SGA's
God.
got to demand a trade. He would be the one of the few players I'd be really just like okay with them demanding
But
a
don't
trade.
you know he's like him and Lou Dort are like best friends. They've really got this friendship going on. They both are awesome. I'm telling you, man. Like I'm not rooting for OKC by any means or
Yeah.
anything like this. But I hate the whole like tank and do this. I hate it. So I'm rooting, I guess, for him to lose, to fail. But I do like this idea of young guys building a program. I don't know if
Sure.
they're building one there, but
I think they are.
you got Giddey, you got Gilgeous-Alexander, you got Dort. I'm gonna
Look at
love-
Josh Giddey's line. Hold up.
Oh, this is a hell of a
0
line.
points on 0 of 8 shooting.
Wow.
10 rebounds, 10 assists. Only Josh Giddey's putting up that line.
He has the best stat line.
He's the only player in the NBA capable of putting up
I
that
love
line.
Giddey.
I couldn't believe that Draymond Green didn't do this before.
I know that is pretty
0, 10, 10.
Incredible line.
He does seem like a 0-10-10 guy. The Spurs put up 144 against the Pistons. Are the Spurs starting to become good guys?
The
I guess it's
Spurs,
the
I
Pistons.
think, are kind of good.
Also, they're putting up 144
Association.
points. The Spurs have never done that. Like, this is a different Spurs team.
The
This is
Spurs
not
have some
your-
good players. They
this is
got
not your
great
grandpa's
guards.
Spurs team.
They have really good guards. And DeJounte Murray didn't even play tonight.
Jock Landale, you guys heard of him. He was a plus 26
Aussie
tonight.
legend.
You guys have heard of him. I didn't even look at any stats from the Pistons. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
and
you
then
don't
the Bulls get the win. They get Zach LaVine, and he goes out there and drops in his return. Did he come off the bench tonight? Oh, no, there he is. Zach LaVine goes 12 of 18, gets 32 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Lonzo Ball entered the health and safety protocols. He doesn't go out or do anything. He avoided. How weird is it? He avoided COVID when their whole team got it. They all come back. He gets it.
And he was bragging about not having a life outside of basketball.
I don't know how.
He said, y'all jinxed me. That's what he tweeted
Yeah.
today.
He went home. He went home for the holidays.
People were shaming him so much for not doing anything. He was just like, I got to get out there.
Oh man, there's no shame in not doing anything. It's like my favorite thing to do.
It's the best thing there
It's
is.
actually the
Although
top
I do
thing.
feel a lot of shame throughout it, so maybe.
Guys, Brennan Vogt's in the house, and he is here to tell us what happened inside the locker room after the game.
Spoke with Michael Malone, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets. He pointed out that he brought the starters back early in this game, and then he said he did not want to make the same mistake as the Charlotte game. So he did call that a mistake.
Which one?
The Charlotte game, leaving the bench in for as long as he did.
That wasn't Charlotte. That was Oklahoma City.
No, to close the game. You're talking about closing the game.
He the Oklahoma City one, not a mistake in his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This isn't the one where he benched the
lesson
starters.
taught.
This is the one where he left the bench in too long. You're confused.
Okay. Hey, here's one thing I will say, though. I think we can now say definitively that strategy of they didn't earn it this whole time did not work. This is now 3 games in a row the starters are a negative.
And hilariously, Charlotte closed with their bench to win that game that he was talking about.
Well, they did bring back a
message
player.
not received.
Moving onwards, Malone said he did not want to make that mistake, so he did bring the starters back early, and I think Jokic came back in at like the 10:37 mark or something like that. On Davon Reed, he said he looks very, very comfortable and confident up there. You've got to believe that you belong, and he certainly does. He was asked if this was the best Christmas gift he got this game, this win, and he said he wished it had come a couple of days sooner. Last couple of days haven't been easy for any of us. I apologize to my wife and my daughters and my dogs because I was kind of a Scrooge. So
yeah,
there you
Michael
go.
Malone couldn't have had an enjoyable Christmas.
Dude, there's
I
no
feel
way.
bad.
There's
Nobody
no
in
way.
the Malone household had a good Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Like how he even
The
apologized to his
presents
dogs.
probably sucked.
Yeah, even if his dogs weren't allowed to.
Oh,
like,
thanks, Mike. Basketball.
yeah. He said Austin was good for them
This
across the
Nuggets
board
shooting
tonight.
shirt.
Vlatko did nothing wrong. He said just wanted to match up with the Clippers.
I just don't like him.
We didn't talk about Vlatko, but I thought he played well again.
He did too. On the response to the run, he said, "You do know a team will go on a run. It happens in the NBA. All about how you respond to those runs." 17 points in the fourth quarter is a great number, especially when they just gave up 38 against Charlotte. Disappointing in the third, but to come back from a 9-point deficit in the fourth, you need stops and rebounds. So he was happy with that. We spoke with Davon Reed today.
Hell yeah.
On the final sequence, he was asked to sort of take us through it, and he said, "Man, just don't get scored on. That's the only thing on my mind." On playing under,
I love these questions because you're right. That what else would he be thinking?
great
it also like
philosophy.
he didn't navigate a single screen. Like there was no possession to walk us through. Like I watched him dribble for 10 seconds, and then I stuck my hand up.
I definitely was not screaming foul, foul, foul
Yeah.
from the bar here while we were watching that. That was not me.
Asking somebody what were you thinking while they are playing a sport is kind of like asking like a comedian, like where do you get your ideas?
Well, it's funny though because you get
It's like, how do you guys come up with such a good show? What are you thinking?
Right.
Yeah,
when
well, I
you
just
go into
knew
a
we
show?
had to throw it to death for this.
it's funny though, man, because sometimes a player will break that down for you in just this like beautiful way, and then another player will just be like, "I don't know, man. I just followed my impulse."
I feel like he was actually being really insightful there,
yeah, just don't get scored on. That's all
which
he's
is
thinking
actually
about.
like, yeah, that is what everyone thinks.
On playing under a 10-day, he said, "To be honest, the 10-day contract is never on my mind. When I'm out there, I'm only locked in. I'm focused on the game plan. I'm just trying to help us win."
Until he gets that notification from Southwest that it's 24 hours and he has to check in for his flight.
On his relationship with Malone and his trust in him, he called it both transformative and career changing.
Wow.
Said there are coaches in the past that have given up on him.
Wow.
He said Jokic is one of the best players he's seen with his own 2 eyes. When I'm out there, anything I can do to make his job easier, that's what I'm going to do.
We glossed over the Malone quote, but that's a big one, man. I know there's a lot of Malone
No, I don't
criticism.
think it's
No, I'm saying this is like a message to everybody listening, and we've even criticized Malone a lot. Like nobody's above criticism. I think he deserves a lot of it. But the whole question always comes back to like, yeah, but does he have the locker room still? Like Jokic was pouting. Like, are they upset? Like you still hear enough of these to be like, I think Malone. Does he make a lot of like big mistakes sometimes? Yeah, but still has the locker room. It sounds like.
I mean, yeah, that's not really something I worry too much about. He also did say
I do.
About losing the locker room.
Just naturally, I think.
Just
Larry
the
Bird.
course
Larry
of-
Bird
yeah,
says
yeah,
that
yeah.
coaches only last 3 years before you lose
Sure.
the locker room.
Maybe Larry Bird is a shitty coach.
Yeah.
No. A player. He's talking about even as a player.
as a player?
Yeah, he's pretty. He only coached for 3 years and then got out of it.
Right?
Davon Reed also said that Malone was the one to push him and his agent to come to the Grand Rapids Gold in the first place and to wait for a Nuggets opportunity. He's had tremendous confidence in me since I've met him.
Malone's talking to his agent. Look, I'm not going to play Zeke all year. Okay, I'm going to let's just go through the guys' bowls.
Have you seen my track record on playing rookies?
Don't worry, you'll get a chance. You'll get a chance.
He's like, you're 1, maybe 2 injuries at most away. You're in, man. I got you.
By the way, this was...
I'm joking. I'm joking, everybody.
From the other media availability, I was able to find out Brandon Boston Jr., his perspective on the final play.
Oh, I love it.
I ain't going to lie. I shot some bullshit.
That's amazing.
Man, he went up.
He did shoot some bullshit.
Cost me my parlay. He gets knocked up a rung in my book after that, which brings him to rung number 1. Like that, he was at the
So
very.
funny,
He was
though,
my
dude.
least
I
favorite
just
player.
love,
Brandon Boston is the Jamal Crawford of this generation. Calling it right now.
I just love
No
how
way.
we
There's
asked
no
both
way.
of those players to break down that riveting possession for us. Don't get scored on. I shot some bullshit.
Hey, sometimes basketball is just a simple game.
That play was a very simple game. There was no play.
We talked to Nikola Jokic tonight.
Hell yeah.
And just on a general note, not necessarily any one thing he said, but just watching him speak, animated Jokic. A little more life to him today. Like a little more... He I don't know. He just seemed animated while he was speaking. A little more happy to be there. Had more
More
to say.
life, like a lion or like a mouse. Like what kind of life
Tiger.
are you talking about? A tiger?
What?
I'm saying, what does it mean to have more life? He was.
Just like more animated. Like
Do you know what he means?
as opposed to like
Yeah.
a like
Drake
a
has the
quiet
album,
and
More
boring
Life.
and like kind of matter of fact press conference. Jokic had a little more energy tonight.
Yeah.
Positive energy is
yeah.
what I'm asking. Okay,
Positive
positive.
energy.
Nice.
Coming in early.
Nice.
He said, "I'm ready. So whenever the coach calls me, I'm going to be there." And I think he knows that, so he trusts me. I do think that, Jokic. I think he does know that you're going to be ready. On Davon Reed, he said, "There's a warrior, and there is no excuses for him." And he basically, there was some language barrier trouble with this one, but he started talking about how Reed in like film sessions and stuff, he's a guy who's really hard on himself, never makes an excuse for himself, will point out what he could have done better. And he said, if you think of the circumstances he's playing under right now, his second 10-day contract going back and forth, there are plenty of excuses available for him, but he's not making any right now. On the fourth quarter, in the first half, we were the aggressors. Facu threw his body to save the ball. We were the first. We were the first to all the loose balls. Second half, they kind of switched the roles. We did fight in the fourth quarter. It was a really interesting game to watch. And then on the injuries, Jokic says we need to find more ways to win games. There is no excuse.
I'm just imagining Jokic sitting on the bench. This is a really interesting game to watch.
There was a play. I don't remember which one. I don't remember what the play was, but somebody like made a good play for Denver, and they cut to the bench, and everyone's crowning, and Jokic was like,
Let me jot that down in my journal. Interesting play.
he had a very much
Interesting.
just like rested, like,
First good play I've seen from you guys.
I guess I'll come back in.
This was a very interesting game to watch.
That's it, though. I'm done.
So give us your takeaways from this game, Vote.
Not the most convincing win, but
And definitely not the most convincing.
does anyone even care right now? Just take the wins.
No,
Yeah.
we don't.
Just look, my biggest concerns right now are point of attack defense and then not being able to get Jokic the ball, which has now been a problem for 3-4 games in a row. I do think it's less of a problem when they have their healthy players, yada, yada, yada. But, like, let's figure this out. They got to be able to get the ball to their best player. And honestly, if I'm on that opposing staff and I'm watching film and I've seen any of these Denver performances in the last handful of games, I'm just thinking, let's front hard, let's switch everything, dare them to make that pass. I don't think they can right now. But having said that, they found a way to win. That part's tight, and we will take it. We will take any winner's lounge we can get.
Yeah.
It's funny how much this season really does remind you of Golden State's last year. I mean, the difference is that Denver, in theory, gets reinforcements in March-ish, whereas they never did. And hopefully that's the difference between having to go down to the play-in and actually just being in.
Right.
But it really is, I mean, it does feel that way where you're like, are you happy with the way this game went? No, other than they won, which is actually the only thing that matters at this point. So they got it. I don't know that this is a momentum builder.
Yeah.
You now get
I
a
don't think
enormous test by going into the Bay, which has been a house of horrors for Denver over the last like 9 months. So you now go into that game. You get a back-to-back against the Warriors, which I think will be interesting just in that it's another one of these 2 games that you play against the same team. So it's weird to say it's a measuring stick game. I think Denver knows how they measure up against
Is
the
every
Warriors.
game a
Shorter.
measuring stick game right now?
Shorter.
How do we measure up to the Charlotte Hornets?
Yes, that's
All right,
right.
let's see how we measure up to the Clippers.
How do we measure up to the Clippers' G League team?
Yeah.
Barely better. But honestly, we're not going to be a vibes killer. The Nuggets get the
Yeah,
win.
they
There's
stopped the
enough
bleeding.
good- They stopped the
Coulda
bleeding,
lost it,
which is
yeah.
what you needed. And now you get an opportunity, maybe a Draymond Green less
Maybe.
version of the Warriors out there. Before we get out of here, guys, don't forget, become a subscriber or become a DNVR member. Also want to remind you, I think we still have the tickets available. We got an extension from the Nuggets to sell these tickets now for the January 16th game against the Utah Jazz. They're $100. You get to ride the party bus here at DNVR. We already filled up one bus and like 10 spots at the second bus, so we still have like 30-ish spots left. So if you are on the fence about it, this is a great opportunity for you guys to join us for a really good night out and a night in. You go out to the game, then you come back to and drink with us. The following day is MLK Day, so you get the day off of work. It should be a really good time. We're gonna be back tomorrow. Oh, I was gonna say, I also did the show with George Carl on Friday. It kind of got swept into the or was it Thursday? Maybe it was Thursday. But that is now up on the Keeping It 1000 podcast. And I thought George had a lot of really insightful things to say this last one. I feel like there was a lot of really good stuff in there. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back and check it out on the Keeping It 1000 feed. All right, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you.